Hey guys, how all of you beautiful people are doing? And yes, this is the next part of Season 2 of Multiverse of Marvel. When a cinephile and an otaku /weeb travels through dimensions and gets a system which can only be described as overpowered but comes with restrictions. At first he was overjoyed with the system but soon realizes that he is in a very dangerous world where his life was at risk all the time. So let's start without any delay. So you and your band are here because we might be a threat to the multiverse in future? John asked. Yes. We need to stop the Black Winter. No matter what. Strange said. We can kill the Black Winter. Since I said Thor has killed it, I know the whole process and the way we can defend against it. John said, trying to convince him. We can't leave the whole multiverse on a chance, John. Black Winter is too powerful. Strange said. As he said, more black priests started coming in from the broken glass in the air. It seems only power can convince you otherwise and show how little you know. John said. Everyone. We need your help. John shouted. As he said that, new people started emerging behind him. At least 500 ninjas and all the Kijis. They were all wearing the attires they wore during the last Great Ninja War. With the same headbands. All the current Kijis and even the previous Kijis. Naruto, Sasuke, Gaara and all the famous characters were standing beside John. He even summoned all the tailed beasts that had been living without the Jinchurikis. The Avengers were surprised to see them, as this was the first time all the ninjas came together to fight against an enemy with them. But this wasn't the end. Next appeared all the mythical and legendary Pokémons. Ho-Oh, Mew, Arceus, Rayquaza, Lugia and all others. This surprised everybody. They didn't expect everybody to show up in this fight. John, how powerful is your magic? You have been sneakily contacting them all this time. Damn. Tony asked. They all thought it was the magic of John, as he called them, like he did with themselves. Since he could teleport all of the Avengers, he could probably teleport the others too. And they all knew that he had cosmic awareness and could speak with anybody, thus didn't doubt John of using anything other than magic. Even the Ancient One didn't suspect anything. They just didn't expect it would be ninjas and Pokemon. John actually just summoned them with the help of system. Even though he could bring them here using magic, he chose not to do so, as that would be wasting magic power. The Black Priest Strange was surprised to see such a huge lineup consisting of weird animals and people. He hadn't seen any of these people and animals in all of the other universes, and he could even feel the power of each and every one of them. Still think we are weak? John asked. Strange didn't reply, as he started uttering a weird letter. Sasuke directly used his Rinnegan on Strange. He used the Shinra Tensei to throw him away like John did before. Everybody, attack and kill them. Don't hold back. John said, and again changed to the lightning fire form of Phoenix. He flew away to confront Strange with a few others, while others attacked all the Black Priests. John, Wayne, Sasuke in Susanoo and Naruto in Kurama form attacked Strange. While the other Pokémons, the tailed beasts and the ninjas started fighting against the other Black Priests, as they were like in 100 now. The ratio was almost 7-1 and the Black Priests were overwhelmed easily. We need to shut his mouth so that he can't speak. John said as he hit Strange with a lightning bolt. You once said Wanda has reality-bending powers. Can we make him shut his mouth forever? Wayne said. That's a nice idea. Wanda, come here. John said over the comms. As they were fighting, Wanda flew over to John's side. Wanda, can you make him lose his mouth forever? John asked. I can try. I have been trying to alter little bit of reality recently, Wanda said as he moved her hands. Red-colored magic was summoned on her hands, which was probably chaos magic, and hit Strange. Strange's eyes became grave as he saw the magic. He used his magic shield to defend against the attack. Since Strange was really powerful, he was able to defend, but then was hit by Naruto with the claws of Kurama. This directly rendered his shield useless the next second. Sasuke then proceeded to use Amaterasu on Strange. The flame got stuck in his arms, and no matter how he moved, he couldn't extinguish the flames on both of his hands. Seeing no other option, he used the last magic he could do with his hands to cut his own hands off, because he felt if he didn't do it, he would actually die by this black fire. Wanda saw the opening and again used magic on him to shut his mouth. This time the magic hit his face, and little by little his mouth vanished and was replaced by skin. This looked weird, but this was the only thing that could be done. John then used magic to directly hold his legs and brought him to his knees. Unsurprisingly, more than half of the Black Priests fell by the time Strange lost his mouth and arms. It was a very short war, but it showed how powerful were the new Avengers, and John's summons were when they attacked in full force. Do you want me to kill all of the Black Priests, Strange? John asked Strange. All the remaining Black Priests stepped back from attacking. The Avengers and others too stopped as they saw Strange on his knees. His body now was made of symbols, so there was no blood or gory scene from his lost hands. Strange tried to speak, but he couldn't as he had lost his mouth. This scene looked funny a bit, and Tony even smiled seeing all this. This battle, even though it was small, the stakes were too high. Though everybody didn't understand the whole story, they got the inkling that this was related to the survival of their universe and their multiverse. Finally a Black Priest said, I would appreciate it if you leave some of them alive. John understood that through hive mind now Strange was speaking. Even though he could speak through the hive mind, there was still a limit of one letter for each Black Priest, so even if they try to complete a word or a sentence, the Avengers and everyone would have enough time to retaliate. You are really something, Strange. Even after such beating, your voice is tranquil. Maybe this was the reason you were chosen as their leader. John said. We all do what is necessary. I am trying to save my universe while you yours. There is nothing wrong with it. We are just forced by circumstances. The Black Priest said. So what now? Are you going to kill me? Strange asked. Yeah, I really wish to do so. But the thing is, if I kill you, there would be no Sorcerer Supreme in Earth 616. That would cause a huge problem for all of the multiverse. You can return back. The lost hands of yours would never grow, and this is the punishment for your arrogance. I presume you can change the situation of your mouth, but your hands are gone forever. John said. Strange too understood that his hands would never grow back. Even the symbols on his body couldn't stop the black fire, let alone all other kinds of things. Go back. You can tell your precious Illuminati group of what transpired here. And tell them to keep their noses away from our business. We will handle Black Winter. And if they are still not happy with the answer, tell them they can come over. We will give them the same response as we gave you now. An iron fist. John said. Strange didn't answer it and was silent. He knew that they had lost, and in the most pathetic way possible. They couldn't even scratch the Avengers of this Earth, even after having one of the most powerful groups in all of the multiverse. But Strange also knew that Black Winter 2 was terrifying, and even the current power of this universe wasn't powerful enough to handle it. John didn't say more and directly conjured magic. He uttered ancient Egyptian spells and sent Strange and the Black Priests away to the multiverse. He could have sent Strange back to Earth 616, but he chose not to do so, as the Black Priests didn't live on Earth 616. John couldn't send them before because this magic could only be done when there was no resistance. Everybody sighed in relief when the Black Priests vanished after John used his magic. The shattered glass in the air repaired itself. This battle was the toughest battle the Avengers had ever faced. Even if the enemies weren't many in numbers, but the sheer power that they possessed overwhelmed them. It was a boon that they had legendary Pokémon and ninjas by their side with the tailed beasts. Otherwise the Avengers might have really lost this battle. The aftermath created by this war would be far-reaching. The whole Himalayas itself was in shambles, and it showed the ferocity of the war. John returned back to his original form and removed his helmet. His face looked grave. They were able to stop the first problem, but now a bigger problem has appeared. John wasn't sure when the Black Winter would come, but they needed to be ready. "John, I need to go away." The Ancient One was the first to break the silence. "What do you mean?" John asked. "The Black Winter. We need more information. Even though you said there is a way of defeating it, but from your tone it seemed that it would be an uphill battle. We will need help." The Ancient One said. "No universe would help us. They will instead destroy our universe to stop it." John said. "I am not talking of the universes, John. I am talking about them. I will go and ask them for help." The Ancient One said as he pointed high up in the air. "Them? Will they even help us? After all these years?" John asked. By them John meant the trio of Vishanti. Agamotto, Oshja and Hogoth, the people who were responsible for the presence of sorcery on Earth and building the sanctums. Agamotto was the first sorcerer supreme, so they had a huge connection with them. "It's fine if you go away. But who will be the sorcerer supreme if you go away? And don't tell me it will be Strange. He isn't ready to take over the mantle." John said. "He isn't, but you are. You can be the Sorcerer Supreme. You have the power and knowledge to be one." The Ancient One said. "No. I won't be the Guardian. Let Mordo, Wong and Constantine handle your position. I will be on the sidelines when required. Strange will be the Sorcerer Supreme when he is ready." John said. "John, you are the perfect candidate for it. Why refuse it?" The Ancient One asked. "Because of Black Winter. You don't know it, but I know. And being the Guardian of Earth wouldn't do me any good. I will have to travel to multiverses soon to find some answers." John said. The Ancient One sighed as she understood that John was right. John then turned around and said, "I think you all have questions, but before that we need to undo the damage we did. Regigas, can you make the Himalayas again? It will seriously affect the ecology if it's not rebuilt." John said. Regigas and the trio understood what John meant and thus walked towards the destroyed mountain ranges to rebuild. They were huge, so when they walked there were mini earthquakes all around. John really thanked his stars that he had brought out Pokémon before this war against the Black Priests. He had immense help. "All right, for answers, let's go to the ring. Shield can handle the things here. Wong, Mordo, Strange, the Kijis and Arceus are welcome to join. Your questions will be answered. Is that fine with you all?" John asked. Everybody nodded. John then waved his hands and everybody appeared in the ring. The Kijis represented the ninjas, RQs, the Pokemon, Wong and others for the mags. Even the Ancient One joined in this meeting. They all went to the Hall of Justice and everybody took their seats. Many were tired, so they all needed a break. They all had been silent as they really wanted to hear the upcoming story from John. Even Strange, who had many questions, didn't say a word. From my previous conversations with Strange, you might have understood what they are called. They are the Black Priests, or the field surgeons of the multiverse. It's the multiverse's defense mechanism which kicks in when there is a threat for the multiverse. When I dream of both the past and future. I have said before that the future always changes, and this time I was on the unknown side. I thought that the Black Priests came because of Molecule Man and the incursion, but I was wrong. My dreams might have created a butterfly effect in all of the multiverse, and probably the emergence of many of you all played a huge part in the changes of the future. Let's leave the story of this incursion for now. Let's focus on Black Winter. Thor, is there a mention of Fimbulwind on the books of Asgard? John asked Thor, who was listening attentively. He heard John say that in future he stopped Black Winter, so he was more interested in it. There is, came the answer, but it was not from Thor but from an old voice from behind. Everybody turned their heads only to see an old man in golden armor with white beard walking towards them. On his hand was a trident. He was All-Father Odin. Father, why are you here? We handled it already. Thor got up from his seat and said. When Thor said this, everybody understood that he was All-Father Odin. Except for the Kijis, the Ancient One and Arceus all stood up to pay respects to the king. He waved his hands to let them be at their seats. Odin went and took an empty seat in the huge hall and said to everyone. There is a mention of Fimbulwind. The Black Winter. The end. The Ragnarok. And no sun, this Ragnarok isn't for Asgard but for all of the universe. Nothing more is written about it. When Heimdall said that you and that other guy mentioned Black Winter, I knew this matter was serious. Odin spoke. Yes. It is serious. But before I explain Black Winter, I will have to mention one thing. Our universe is the 7th iteration. What I mean by that is, our multiverse has already been destroyed 6 times. Yes, you heard it right. 6 times, the universe had gone through life and death. And every multiverse's death comes with the Black Winter. It is the Black Winter who comes and devours the multiverse, killing everything with it. So yes, this is the origin of Black Winter. The actual and true Ragnarok. I suppose you all have questions. Ask away. I will explain all your doubts. It's fine if you go away. But who will be the Sorcerer Supreme if you go away? And don't tell me it will be Strange. He isn't ready to take over the mantle. John said. He isn't, but you are. You can be the Sorcerer Supreme. You have the power and knowledge to be one. The Ancient One said. No. I won't be the Guardian. Let Mordo, Wong and Constantine handle your position. I will be on the sidelines when required. Strange will be the Sorcerer Supreme when he is ready. John said. John, you are the perfect candidate for it. Why refuse it? The Ancient One asked. Because of Black Winter. You don't know it, but I know. And being the Guardian of Earth wouldn't do me any good. I will have to travel to multiverses soon to find some answers. John said. The Ancient One sighed as she understood that John was right. John then turned around and said. I think you all have questions, but before that we need to undo the damage we did. Regigas, can you make the Himalayas again? It will seriously affect the ecology if it's not rebuilt. John said. Regigas and the trio understood what John meant and thus walked towards the destroyed mountain ranges to rebuild. They were huge, so when they walked there were mini earthquakes all around. John really thanked his stars that he had brought out Pokemon before this war against the Black Priests. He had immense help. All right, for answers, let's go to the ring. Shield can handle the things here. Wong, Mordo, Strange, the Kijis and Arceus are welcome to join. Your questions will be answered. Is that fine with you all? John asked. Everybody nodded. John then waved his hands and everybody appeared in the ring. The Kijis represented the ninjas, Arceus, the Pokemon, Wong and others for the mags. Even the Ancient One joined in this meeting. They all went to the Hall of Justice and everybody took their seats. Many were tired, so they all needed a break. They all had been silent as they really wanted to hear the upcoming story from John. Even Strange, who had many questions, didn't say a word. From my previous conversations with Strange, you might have understood what they are called. They are the Black Priests, or the field surgeons of the multiverse. It's the multiverse's defense mechanism which kicks in when there is a threat for the multiverse. When I dream of both the past and future. I have said before that the future always changes, and this time I was on the unknown side. I thought that the Black Priests came because of Molecule Man and the incursion, but I was wrong. My dreams might have created a butterfly effect in all of the multiverse, and probably the emergence of many of you all played a huge part in the changes of the future. Let's leave the story of this incursion for now. Let's focus on Black Winter. Thor, is there a mention of Fimbulwind on the books of Asgard? John asked Thor, who was listening attentively. He heard John say that in future he stopped Black Winter, so he was more interested in it. There is, came the answer, but it was not from Thor but from an old voice from behind. Everybody turned their heads only to see an old man in golden armor with white beard walking towards them. On his hand was a trident. He was All-Father Odin. Father, why are you here? We handled it already. Thor got up from his seat and said. When Thor said this, everybody understood that he was All-Father Odin. Except for the Kijis. The Ancient One and Arceus all stood up to pay respects to the king. He waved his hands to let them be at their seats. Odin went and took an empty seat in the huge hall and said to everyone. There is a mention of Fimbulwind. The Black Winter. The end. The Ragnarok. And no sun, this Ragnarok isn't for Asgard but for all of the universe. Nothing more is written about it. When Heimdall said that you and that other guy mentioned Black Winter, I knew this matter was serious. Odin spoke. Yes. It is serious. But before I explain Black Winter, I will have to mention one thing. Our universe is the 7th iteration. What I mean by that is, our multiverse has already been destroyed 6 times. Yes, you heard it right. 6 times, the universe had gone through life and death. And every multiverse's death comes with the Black Winter. It is the Black Winter who comes and devours the multiverse, killing everything with it. So yes, this is the origin of Black Winter. The actual and true Ragnarok. I suppose you all have questions. Ask away. I will explain all your doubts. What is this being we are speaking about? I mean, is it a human being, an alien? What is it? Tony asked. It's just an entity that devours universes. It doesn't have any shape or form and very little is known of it. When it comes, black snow falls and everything the black snow touches, gets obliterated to nothingness. John replied. You said, I will kill the Black Winter. Can we get to know how? Thor asked, as this was the main question for all. They wanted to know the process of defeating it. John hesitated for a bit before uttering a spell. This spell would stop anyone from hearing their conversation. Not even the watchers would be able to hear the next words of John. What did you do? Arthur asked. I just used magic as a protection to stop anyone from listening to our conversation. There can be many people listening to us right now. That war against the multiversal beings is sure to wake up many other entities in all of the multiverse. Everybody nodded as they understood. Before explaining the defeat of Black Winter, let me tell your story. In the last universe there was a planet called Ta. There lived a remarkable scientist and an explorer named Galen. Their planet was the epitome of civilization of their universe. But sadly their universe was about to end due to Black Winter and the contraction of their universe, as it was already billions of years old. Everything should have ended with that, but that explorer Galen made a pact with Black Winter. The Black Winter would leave Galen, but he would have to be the herald of the Black Winter. In all future universes Galen would have to guide Black Winter so that it can feed upon them. And later, due to various reasons, Galen became very powerful. Powerful enough to destroy gods. And in our multiverse we have a different name for him. Galactus. The Ancient One and Odin shuddered on their seats when they heard that name. They both knew of the existence of Galactus and the power he possessed. John saw their shuddering and knew that both of them knew of him. Galactus, like his master, is also a devourer of worlds. He can eat planets and galaxies, and that is his food. Thor was able to defeat Black Winter because Thor became the herald of Galactus. Galactus didn't want to be under the control of Black Winter, so he chose Thor as his herald. Thor later came to know that Galactus had been the herald of Black Winter all along and Galactus was using him. Thor became angry and he stripped Galactus of the power that fuels Galactus and detonated his body. This killed Black Winter. Well, that was what the story is supposed to be. Now we will have to find other ways to defeat him. Everybody's views changed for the first time. They had never expected that such beings even existed in their multiverse. All the powers that they possessed now looked very weak in front of such mighty beings. In simple terms, they were just ants trying to move the elephants. Everybody's face looked grave. What are the powers of Black Winter? I mean, does he have any other power apart from devouring universes? Wayne asked. Anybody who gazes on Black Winter, sees their death. Most of them see Black Void as that is the actual form of Black Winter, but those who escape Black Winter see their future deaths. So no matter what, never look into Black Winter. Never. When we fight against it we can never use our eyes. John said. The hell? We can't even fight with our eyes open. Is that even fair? Flash said. Nothing is fair, Barry. It is what it is. John said. How do you wish to defeat Black Winter? Stripping the power away from Galactus like Thor did. Wayne asked. That is my plan. But we will have to see how it turns out and how far is Black Winter. Sorcerer Supreme, I hope you can come back with news. I have checked this universe and there is no sign of Black Winter as of yet, but we don't know how much time we have. John said. I will make my preparations. The Ancient One said. Yes. Strange, you can ask your questions. I am sure you have some. John said. Did you and the Ancient One know of my evil versions in other universes? Is that why you brought me here, to properly guide me so that I don't go to the dark side? Dark side? No, Strange. Even the previous Strange isn't actually bad. You can't blame him for trying to save his home and the multiverse. You on all other versions isn't actually bad. It's just that the moral lines of yours get blurred over time. When you fight for such a long time and still see no end of enemies, it gets difficult to maintain that sanity. John answered. And you said I will be the Sorcerer Supreme. I never went to Comatage to be the Sorcerer Supreme. I just want to heal my hands. Strange replied, as after seeing all the fight and the other evil version of him, he wanted to be away from magic. He couldn't even imagine himself embroiled in all of this. You can heal your hands after you become the Sorcerer Supreme. John said with authority. You are supposed to be the best of us. It's your calling and destiny. The Ancient One said. No. I will not take up that mantle. Mordo is better suited for this kind of stuff. Strange insisted. Just grow a spine, Strange. Since the Ancient One has chosen you as the next Sorcerer Supreme, you should be honored. Mordo said without any hint of jealousy. John was surprised by this of Mordo. In almost all of universes he wasn't actually a good guy, and even in their own universe he should have taken the other side. But as of now Mordo has shown no such transformation. This was different from what he expected. He would keep an eye on Mordo always if he ever took to the other side. Until then, Strange, for now master all of mystic arts. Later you can decide if you will be the Sorcerer Supreme or not. John finally said, seeing Strange still was not ready to budge. Fine, after that you heal my hands. Strange said. Everybody was looking at Strange weirdly because they had seen the other version of him who had more of a charm and looked like an inborn leader, whereas this version didn't want to take any such responsibility. What is that Illuminati that you spoke of at the end with Strange? Is it their version of Avengers? Tony asked. No. Every universe has an Avengers group. It's just that their Earth has a higher group made by you, Strange. Black Panther, yes, the one from Wakanda, name a which I have already mentioned once, Professor Charles Xavier, a mutant which has immense telepathic powers. Black Bolt, King of Inhumans. Think of Inhumans as another kind of mutants, and Reed Richards, the one of the most intelligent people in their universe. Yes, more intelligent than you, Tony. Even Rogers joined Illuminati at one point of time. There is a huge team of Avengers, so Illuminati was established to make decisions which the Avengers couldn't take. Illuminati was formed on the basis that these people would represent all of the superpowered forces of Earth, with each person representing one section of the society. John said. Think of Illuminati as the UN of Avengers. John explained what Illuminati actually was. How many powered beings are there in other universes that we had to establish such a group? We are seriously lacking in firepower. Banner said. Enough to give everyone a headache. John replied. So now you know all of the story. Even though I'm not sure if my version of the story is correct or not, that is the general line. I will keep an eye on Black Winter's emergence. And we need to find Galactus, but I can't actively search for him as he might sense it and come for our universe. He is a very powerful weapon, but it goes both ways. We aren't strong enough to face him. I have a vague idea of how to tackle this guy, but it's going to take time. No matter what, we need to face him. John said. Though I know the times look dire now, we cannot lose hope. We will need to gather more power, but on the basis that we don't lose ourselves in search of stronger power. You all have seen that version of Strange. He didn't hesitate to kill a universe in order to save everything. Rogers said. We can never be them. We need to be better. Better than all. Since in the future Thor does defeat Black Winter, we can do it. He does it single-handedly, this time we will be a team. Wayne said. I will try to get more power as soon as possible for all of you and myself. I just hope we have enough time for that. Everybody should improve as fast as possible, we might not have much time left. John said. Everybody left after that. They didn't speak more as everybody was tired after the fight and needed more rest. Odin left with the Ancient One to Earth, probably to take rest as Ragnarok for Asgard was approaching. John needed to handle that too. And then there was Thanos. He could find Thanos anytime, but he chose not to do so because without the stones he is powerless. And if Thanos really attacked, he would just lose and all of the universe would get to know the deeds of the Avengers, making his movies more famous. For this reason he didn't care about Thanos. While the discussion was going on, S.H.I.E.L.D. and the governments of Earth were having a hard time to understand what was actually happening. The Himalayas got decimated to oblivion, which caused earthquakes in the nearby areas. Even though nobody was harmed, it still caused panic to the people and the governments. The battle lasted hardly for an hour, but many people got to see the power of the Avengers. The New York War now looked cute to people, and for the first time everybody understood how high the Avengers have grown. Wayne went to the headquarters of S.H.I.E.L.D. to brief the World Council. He wouldn't mention about Black Winter. Only that Image tried to invade their Earth and they all had to come together to solve the problem. The World Council knew that they couldn't hide this matter and needed to conjure a lie to maintain the order. If these people came to know that there were villains coming from other multiverses, then it would be a problem. Till now only good people came over. Now it was enemies for the first time. The people didn't see the emergence of ninjas, but they definitely saw many legendary and mythical Pokémon. And as they were speaking, Regigas and the trio was making the Himalayas again from the rubble. They were in awe by the power of Pokémons, and some even tried to approach them only to be stopped by S.H.I.E.L.D. The World Council later came out and tasked the governments in making a lie on enemies appearing over the Himalayas. And since the New York War had happened, all governments gave the lie of aliens appearing and Avengers went to confront. Since the aliens proved to be very powerful, Pokémon came over to handle the situation and save humanity. These made people love Pokémon more as all legendary and mythical Pokémon came to save humanity. John, on the other hand, was busy thinking of how to improve his powers. He needed more fan values to store for an upgrade and needed to upgrade his summons too. He has an idea for Green Lanterns. Wayne and Tony are building their own armors, so he didn't much care about him. Aquaman needed an update. Flash has enough powers and doesn't need any such thing. Cyborg does have one version of Kingdom Come comics where he is more human, but that wouldn't actually give Cyborg any additional powers. One version of Queen in Elseworld comics is a mashup between Gandalf and Queen, so he has kind of half magical powers so that power could be easily given to Queen. In one version of comics, Wonder Woman has Schnick powers and even reality warping and alteration powers like Wanda. And surprisingly, Wonder Woman's name in that universe is Wanda too. Sometimes John wondered if there was a connection between Marvel World and DC World, if the DC World ever existed. John knew he would have to spend a ton of fan values, but thankfully after the arrival of Pokémon World his fan values had skyrocketed. And now John had to go to Disney and CD Projekt Red to deliver more games and animations. He needed to gain more fan values and even from stories that wouldn't bring any actual power to him but would add to his power nonetheless in the way of fan values. Thus after entering Disney he gave the stories of John Wick, Matrix, Avatar, Pirates of the Caribbean, Lord of the Rings and such other famous movies. Even movies which deal with normal stories. The name of Disney would let the movies garner more attention. And of course John gave some animated stories too. Then he went to CD Projekt Red to submit more ideas for games from his previous world like Doom, Dark Souls, World of Warcraft, Skyrim, Assassin's Creed, all editions, Final Fantasy and many others. John knew this would take years to complete with all the movies and games but he needed to start somewhere. This was the right time. Soon he would have very less time for work and more for world saving. Even though the threat of Dark Winter was looming over their heads he needed to keep his head straight and work steadily towards more power. Both CD Projekt Red and Disney were taken aback by so much content John had brought. They knew something had changed after the war in the Himalayas but nobody dared to ask. Those who knew that John was Dr. Fate knew something more terrible had happened for John to come up with such stories and wondered how many characters from the movies would come to life. Since everybody now knew that there are different worlds, many in Disney suspected that there might be new people coming over soon. This whole exchange of stories and ideas went till December and finally John delivered all the stories and ideas that could be shared with both of the companies. At the end of the year there was a silver lining for John as Emma was back from working as a lantern for vacations. Hi Honorable. I see that the Earth has changed quite a lot in this more than 1 year. Emma said as she landed near the House of Mysteries. Yes. Many things have changed. John said. Even though Emma was away they always used to have conversations over calls and give an update of what was going on in each other's life. Thus Emma knew about the ring and even John being the Sorcerer Supreme. She was happy that her boyfriend had grown more powerful over the years and even confronted another enemy called Ultron. This Ultron gave her a headache too as she had to search for the AI. Surprisingly John couldn't search for Ultron even with his cosmic awareness. John then proceeded to tell her what had happened in the last few months and the coming of Black Winter and the whole story behind it. So we have a huge war coming. Emma said in a very serious tone. Yes, and we need to be ready. I will have to soon cross the barriers of the multiverse and go to Earth 616. John said. Wouldn't that be dangerous? I have been going through the books of OA. There are way too many variables in that universe. Emma said. Doesn't matter. I will have to go and talk to Galactus. This is for the survival of Earth, our universe and all of the multiverse. John said. Emma knew that John had to take this journey no matter what as only he was capable of doing that and had enough knowledge to handle situations. She was happy to see their new home and loved the Pokémon Ordino and the spirit of the house. Emma even went to Earth to meet her parents and catch Pokémon. John thought of her having the Pokémon Deoxys as that Pokémon would be helpful in dealing with space-related missions. Deoxys was a psychic-type mythical Pokémon and thus could help Emma in every way possible. Thus John and Emma went for a search for Pokémon and led her to the Pokémon Deoxys and let her catch it. She was ecstatic to catch a mythical Pokémon. John didn't help her anymore as now it was her own choice which Pokémon she would prefer. She ended up catching Emolga. A very cute Pokémon. The days went by and it was January soon. The Ancient One had already left to meet the trio of Vishanti. Wong, Mordo and Constantine took over each sanctum as the main masters. while the trio was responsible for educating the students in turn at Comitage. The new year was celebrated with a little more grandeur, as this was the first new year everybody would spend on the ring, and thus everybody joined in the fun. The last few days had been depressing for them and they all needed some relief. Due to the war in the Himalayas, the movie that was supposed to be out in December was pushed to February, as nobody was in a mood to watch movies for some time now. There was still a small sense of panic for people, and the battle prompted more people to go after Pokémons. After a week of January, John took Emma to OA as he needed to talk with the Guardians and speak about Black Winter. And also give a boost to them, as he had already calculated his fan values and the necessary upgrade required. John used the Helmet of Fate to appear in OA and they flew to the Citadel. The Guardians had all been summoned as he had already been notified from before. Emma and John both landed in the Citadel while the Guardians were standing in their respective places circling John and Emma. John, we noticed the breach in the multiverse barriers. Is everything all right? Appa asked. Yes. For now. But I have come with grave news. John said. Go on. Let us hear. Appa asked. John then proceeded to recount what had happened and things with Strange and the coming of Black Winter. The Guardians were silent after hearing that for some time before Ganthet finally saying, "The Green Lanterns will help the Avengers in dealing with the Black Winter. All Green Lanterns will be given information about it. The emergency protocols are now activated here in OA. Thank you, Guardians. Now for the other reason I am here for," John said. After becoming the Sorcerer Supreme, I have gained more powers and can bring alternate versions of every being that has come through the multiverse, and thus allowing me to give more powers to the travelers at the expense of a little bit of magic. The Guardians became interested when John said that. They knew what John actually meant by that. But before I start the process of bringing alternate versions and pushing the power through the travelers, I have a question to ask. John said. Speak. Appa said. Do you remember the prophecy of the Blackest Night? The Guardians became silent when John asked that. This was a huge prophecy in the Book of OA. The Guardians hated that prophecy because it mentioned the rise of many lanterns and infighting among all the lanterns. Don't tell me the Blackest Night has something to do with Black Winter. Appa asked. It doesn't, but according to the prophecy, Ganthet and Sade are supposed to be the guardians of Blue Lanterns. Wasn't it? John asked. There was total silence on the Guardians as they didn't know how to reply. Yes. That was the prophecy. But why are you saying this? Appa asked. I want Ganthet and Sade to make a Blue Lantern Corp. John said. I will summon the Blue Lantern element and even the embodiment of the green and the blue element. John continued. Are you sure it's a good idea? It would mean we will trigger the Blackest Night prophecy. Appa said. There are no emotional spectrum forces in this multiverse. If new forces do appear, I will handle it myself. For now I can bring Blue Lantern and the embodiments easily. John said. If you say so, but we just hope we don't trigger the Blackest Night prophecy and have more problems on top of Black Winter. Appa said. Don't worry about that. Now it's time to bring the embodiments here. They will choose their hosts willingly. I will place Entity Adra, the embodiment of blue element, on Ganthet for the time being, and Entity Ion, the embodiment of green element, can choose its host willingly as there are already Green Lanterns here. John said. Okay. I will accept the entity willingly and vow to use the power of hope to serve the universe and its protection. At this time of approaching Black Winter, we do need the power of hope. Ganthet said. Ding. Total fan values, 7 billion. Fan values required to extract ion and Adra, 1 billion. John spent 1 billion and waved his hands. As he did that, a huge bird-like being that glowed in blue light emerged in front of John. The bird was so huge that it shadowed the citadel and all the green lanterns that were present on Oa could see Adra. John placed Adra on the body of Ganthet and then proceeded to summon Ion. Ion was green in color and had the shape of a huge whale. Its size was bigger than Adra, and this time too all the green lanterns were able to see Ion appearing. Its appearance made the rings of all the green lanterns vibrate all over the universe and all felt a huge boost of power. Ion then vanished right from its spot as it went away to find its host. It depended upon Ion to choose its host. The Guardians, John and Emma looked at all of it with a sigh. From here on there would be 2 Lantern Corps in the universe, and this would give an immense help to Green Lantern Corps. Ganthet and Sade, from here on you both will have nothing to do with OA and will be the guardians of the Blue Lantern Corps. We wish you a successful journey. Appa was the first to break the silence and said to Ganthet and Sade. As guardians they had left emotions a long time ago, and thus there was no such tears or sadness in separations. Now the last reason, I am here. The green and the blue lanterns can now take their lantern and place it as armor around their body. This would give more power to the existing lanterns. John said. As Hal Jordan in the Kingdom Come comics used the lantern as armor around the body and became more powerful as he defended Earth from a space station he had made. John spent another 100 million and made it into a book and gave it to Appa and Ganthet so that both could use the knowledge of making such armors from lanterns. The last update of the system allowed him to bring alternate versions from the comics and thus helped him a lot. Since Ganthet and Sade were the guardians that made the Blue Lantern of Hope, he was able to make a Blue Lantern Corps from scratch. Every color of the rainbow corresponded to the emotional spectrum in the DC universe. For example, green signified will, blue signified hope, red signified rage, and so on and so forth. The other spectrum couldn't be extracted as the characters were never present in any movie or series. By this time all the Green Lanterns present on the planet arrived at the Citadel to see what was going on. They thought someone attacked the Guardians but were relieved to see that nothing had happened. Guardians then called for a meeting of all the Green Lanterns in the universe because they needed to discuss the next course of action. John left Emma for the meeting that was about to happen and returned back to the ring and called for a meeting with the Avengers. Everybody had come for the meeting like usual and reached the Hall of Justice. All took their respective seats. I heard Emma is back. Banner asked. Yes, she is, but she is in OA right now. Hal didn't come because he too was summoned by the Guardians to talk about the emergency protocol. I informed them about the Black Winter. John said. Has there been any news from the Ancient One? Wayne asked. No. She hasn't returned as of yet. John said. So what are we all here for? Victor asked. Last time I told you that my magic now can give people powers using the alternate versions that I have dreamed of. For those who have arrived from the multiverse. Today I will give some of you that. John said. Wayne has many versions, but I think being the normal type is best. All the new armors is enough, so I won't be bringing the alternate versions of him. John continued. Wayne nodded at it as he didn't really need any update to himself. Arthur. Your alternate versions are crazy. So I will be bringing 2 versions. One version is where you can transform yourself to a living water form. Yes, you heard me right. In this version you can become like a sentient water. In addition to being a full body of water, you will have the power to manipulate water like Mera, have super speed and be highly intelligent. And the other version is the futuristic Aquaman, where you have a high intellect and flight. Congratulations! Now you can fly, John said. The two versions were taken from Earth 6 Aquaman and the Aquaman from DC 1 million series. John spent 500 million for this and mumbled a false magic and flicked to Arthur. And the next moment Arthur's body gained a little bit of height and looked even more handsome. Mera and others looked at Arthur, but they couldn't see any major changes in Arthur. He looked almost the same, and so they were confused. But the next second Arthur transformed himself to a full body of water. The whole physiology of his body changed, as now his body was replaced with transparent water and even refracted light could be seen through his body. And then the water body floated in the air. Everybody was amazed by such changes. Arthur came down and changed himself back. He was ecstatic to say the least. Now he could fight both in air and water. This is crazy. Is that even genetically possible? Tony asked. Don't ask me. I only dream of them and used magic to push the alternate versions through him. He is now highly intelligent. Can add him to the laboratory, John said. One of my versions is from the 853rd century, so my knowledge is far beyond this era has ever seen, Arthur said as he was checking himself out and going through all his abilities. But this time he spoke telepathically to all. Now all understood that Arthur had gained telepathy too. This is unfair. Arthur now has telepathy too. I too need awesome powers like Arthur, Clint said with a sulking tone. Go through the multiverse unknowingly and come back. Maybe then I can give you powers, John said. If we ever go to another multiverse, count me in. I want all my other versions to be with me, Clint said jokingly. Everybody else was happy because now Arthur had awesome powers and his presence would help the Avengers a lot. Queen, well, there aren't many awesome versions of yours. But there is one version where you know magic and use a longbow. Do you want to accept the new power? John asked. Sure. We must do whatever we can to make ourselves powerful as long as it is safe and doesn't change personality, Oliver said. There will be no changes. Rest assured, John said as he spent 150 million on Green Arrow's version of Elseworld, where he knows magic that is attuned to nature and lived in forests. Oliver's whole body soon got wrapped up in various colored leaves. The leaves formed a womb around him like a cocoon. After a minute of being in the cocoon, Oliver broke through it. He looked taller now, had a flute in his waist, a longer bow in his hand. There were still leaves around him, but in smaller quantity. How is it? Natasha asked in envy, as she was sure now Queen had basically been elevated to a higher form. I know magic that is attuned to nature. I can make arrows out of natural elements and use the flute to hypnotize animals. Feels really weird. It's as if I can feel the air and the surroundings. John, I can feel you too. You have too much magic power. That helmet is giving away a ridiculous amount of magic, Oliver said. John smiled when Oliver said that because the name, Lord of Order, wasn't just for show. Everybody was interested in the powers of Oliver and thus asked him many questions. Victor and Barry, there are not any better versions of you. You both are at the pinnacle, so I won't give you any powers. Diana, one version of you is an alien with reality-bending powers like Wanda and Schnick powers. Do you want it? John asked. Alien. Am I an alien in another universe? That is new, Diana said. That's what the story is about, John said. And you can learn the reality-bending powers from Wanda. John continued. I understand, Diana said. John then proceeded to spend 500 million fan value points for Diana, and again used a false magic on her. This version of her was taken from Earth 9 Wonder Woman, who was genetically engineered and possessed characteristics of both alien species who were in war against each other. As she got the new power, she didn't feel any change, only that now she has a long weapon on her hand which had sharp weird-shaped blades on both sides. These are all the upgrades that are available to us now. Now we can only wait for the Ancient One to come with news, John said. How far are both of your armors? John asked. We have made more adjustments to the armor. I am thinking of securing the whole ring with the anti-projectile shield. This is my new project for now, Tony said. Sure. I will secure the ring in magical defense. The ring too needs one like Earth, John said. John then spoke about new adjustments that OA was going to make and New Lantern Corporation. The blue-colored lanterns signifying hope. They were surprised by the emergence of new lanterns but were happy to have another kind of intergalactic policeman. After that, everybody went back to their work, and those who got new powers went to try out themselves and see how powerful they have become. John too went and started going through spells and magic. He was now actively practicing magic. Emma came back after a day and said that the two Guardians had left to search for a new planet to set up the Blue Lantern Corporation. Their new lantern armors would be provided soon. She had to leave for her work after 2 weeks, as the work of Lantern Corps never stops. The days went by and soon it was February. The Ancient One finally returned from her trip to meet the Vishanti. She came over to John's home to give the news of the future. How was the trip? John asked. Good and bad, I guess. I actually wanted to die and let Strange take over, but now everything is out of the window. I will have to make Strange the Sorcerer Supreme before I rest in peace, she said. That was the plan, wasn't it? John smiled. Your emergence messed up a lot of things, be it good or bad, the Ancient One said. Whatever. What did the trio say? He asked. We have 5 years before the Black Winter comes. Due to our universe acting up weirdly, they have taken measures. Because of Black Winter, our universe will be cut from all of the multiverse so that Black Winter doesn't harm all of the multiverse. That is the decision of Eternity, Infinity and the Living Tribunal, the Ancient One said. John's eyebrows raised when he heard the names. Those 3 are basically the overlords of the universe, if one above all isn't taken into account. It was not surprising that they had taken that decision. Black Winter is too powerful and they needed to take measures. Since all the universes wouldn't help them, it was better to just cut them off when the situation goes out of hand. Now John was more determined to fight against Black Winter and prove the overlords wrong and show them that only Earth 616 isn't everything and all-powerful. John clenched his fists and made a vow that he would become more powerful. I understand. We will defend this universe till the end and show them what we are really made of, and maybe our Earth one day would be more powerful than their precious Earth 616 since they are so much attached to it, John said. The Ancient One smiled at this but didn't reply. After narrating her meeting with the Vishanti, she went back to Comatage for being the Sorcerer Supreme. Before she left, she and John both made a magical defense in the whole of the ring so that interdimensional creatures could not sneak inside the ring. John now was relieved that their home was secured magically too. The Tower of Fate was the sanctum of the ring that powered the magical defense. The Ancient One even went through the books inside Tower of Fate for a long time before leaving. After John told everybody of what had happened and time they had to fight Black Winter, everybody got serious. 5 years is too little. How will we even defend against Black Winter after the powers we possess? Tony asked. I will take care of it. I will soon travel to the multiverse in a year or so, to handle the situation of Black Winter. Since the other universes have refused to give us aid and gods too abandoned us, I will kill gods and then let me see how they would react. John said with anger. We understand. Do remind us when you leave. Don't want you to leave alone. Wayne said. John nodded to it and ended the call. John went to Disney as the movie would be out soon and maintaining the tradition the premiere would be held in NY instead of the Ring. The movie was supposed to be out by the last week of February. But before that John got a visitor from Earth. One morning out of nowhere, the Zephyr landed near the home of John. Gaia reminded her that Coulson and his team would come to meet him. Zephyr had been modified a lot and now could travel in space. Thanks to the new technology of solar harnessing energy and gravity manipulation. John was standing on the balcony sipping his coffee when they landed. Everybody came out from the ship including Ang and Katara. John, it's been a long time. Hasn't it? Coulson said. It's been some time. How are you? John asked. I am great. We are here to seek advice. Coulson said. I understand. Come in. Ang, you can release a pup. I think he would love it here. John said. Ang went to bring a pup out so that he could get fresh air. Everybody went in after that including Coulson, Sky, Ang, Katara, Iten, me, Fitz and Simmons. Surprisingly Fitz and Simmons came in holding their hands. Their romance finally built up as opposed to their actual storyline where Fitz was injured in his head. John was happy to see it. Fitz was actually hurt in the actual story due to hypoxia in brain and lost to properly function for quite a long time. Sky and others were excited to meet John. Since they were all agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. they knew the real identity of the Phoenix who battled the invaders that came from another universe in the Himalayas. Everybody saw how John fought against the invaders and their fight decimated the Himalayas. Those images were still fresh in their minds. John was surprised to see Sky with a Pokémon. That too a dragon-type Pokémon. Well, the future evolution of it was dragon-type. It was Trapinch which could evolve to Fligon. Ordino and the spirit of the house came with drinks and snacks for everyone. They all recognized Ordino but had never seen the spirit before. Is it a new kind of Pokémon, never discovered by humanity? Simmons asked as she was very much interested in Pokémon. She was now extensively studying about them from the notes that S.H.I.E.L.D. had released on Pokémon with the contribution of all professors. No, this is the spirit of the house. The house is kind of a living entity so it gave itself a body. John answered. Is that even possible? That's not even scientific. Fitz said. Many things can't be explained by science. John said as he conjured spells to show them. Even though they knew John was a mage now, seeing in reality was a different thing from hearing. How is everything? I presume you are here for a problem. I don't think you have come such a long way just to meet me. John said. Can't a friend come to meet you? Coulson said with a smile. Who are you kidding? You are an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. and supposedly the future director of S.H.I.E.L.D. Do you think I will believe your words? John said. Sigh. Can't even hide this from you. Coulson said with a mock smile. We are here for Sky, she is a consultant for S.H.I.E.L.D. like you. We have encountered a problem with her. Coulson said. John raised his eyebrows when he said that. He checked on the memories of Ong and finally understood what the problem was. Sky had finally become an inhuman. She had become Quake, the inhuman who could make vibrations around herself. She was the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. for some time in another universe. Apparently they founded a Kree city while on their missions and they all went in. Sky was affected by a Terrigen mist that could basically activate the sleeping inhuman DNA in them. Inhumans were made by the Kree as their experiments of evolution on various species all over the universe. Only the humans were compatible with the new kind of evolution and those who evolved became inhumans. The people who were experimented upon got new genes which became hereditary. Their hidden genes could be activated by a thing called Terrigen mist that makes them inhumans, but not all get powers. Some might devolve too, so this Terrigen mist is sometimes dangerous to inhumans too. For normal humans, being exposed to Terrigen mist is a death sentence. Sky was exposed to the Terrigen mist and thus became an inhuman. What is the problem? John asked as he needed to fake himself a bit now. Coulson then narrated the story of their mission in Puerto Rico and Sky being exposed to a weird mist and her being inside a cocoon. After she came out, her genes changed a lot and now they didn't know what to do with Sky. She had powers now, but she couldn't control them. John listened to everything and looked at Sky. Sky, do you have anxiety with these new powers? John asked. I have no control of my powers and I feel I am a liability to the team. Fitz said my genes have changed. Ong has powers but his genes are exactly the same as a human being. Why is that my genes changed when I got powers? Sky replied. I understand. John said. Then he proceeded to wear the helmet of fate. Avengers, we have a mission. Fury, bring the weird artifact that you got at the house of Gideon Malik. John said in a loud tone. He used his telepathy to call all the Avengers at the Hall of Justice and called Fury too. Is the matter serious? Coulson said as he understood that John called the Avengers, but he didn't understand why. Is there a problem with Sky? Coulson asked again as Sky was his subordinate and didn't want anything to happen to her. She is fine. I will explain the problem, or rather the gift of her, in the meeting. You all are welcome to join the meeting of the Avengers. I will explain everything there. The mission is something else. I have not dealt with a being for a long time. It is time I end the problem. Sky and others were relieved when John said that. They thought Sky was a problem and needed to be dealt with. They all went to the Hall of Justice and all the new people were excited. They have all heard about the Hall of Justice, but this time they got to see it and even attend a meeting of the Avengers, Earth's mightiest heroes. All came in when John called, and Fury came with a few agents carrying a huge glass box. There was a huge block of rock inside it. But what was weird was that the rock sometimes became a liquid for a few seconds and returned back to its shape. All were confused by such weird behavior of the rock and all looked at John, who showed up with Coulson and his team. What is this new freak thing about? Tony asked. We got the box when we raided the house of Malik after Hydra was purged. S.H.I.E.L.D. did everything to find the origin of it, but we failed to find any information from it. Wayne said as he was the secretary, knew all about the artifacts and things of S.H.I.E.L.D. So what now? Do we face danger? Mera asked. Not exactly, we will go and knock on the doors of danger this time," John said. Then he proceeded to tell the story of Inhumans and their experiments thousands of years ago. "So when you mentioned Black Bolt last time as the king of Inhumans, did you mean there is a special race of people among us?" Banner asked. "No. In this universe there are no such races." "Well, as a matter of fact there is a hidden race, but it isn't as large as the race in other universes. Today we have a member of that race. Sky, come here," John said. Sky now understood what her heritage was and that she was an Inhuman. She walked towards John while her body was trembling. "Don't be nervous, Sky, there is nothing wrong. You just got powers that people can only dream about," John said. "She is Sky, an Inhuman. Her power is related to vibrations. Her name in another universe is Quake. She can make vibrations around herself and is immensely powerful," John said. All looked at Sky with curiosity now. Getting all the looks from all the Avengers made her shy, and she kept her head low as she didn't know to react. "So what now, do you want to integrate her with the Avengers?" Victor asked. "That is her choice. If she wants to join, she is welcome, but if she wants to continue with Coulson then it's up to her. But I didn't just call you all to introduce her. I called you all to kill an enemy," John said. "We all know Hydra was founded by Red Skull for world domination and control." "Yes?" John asked. "I think that is well known. Why are you bringing this up?" Steve asked as Hydra was killed and decimated long ago. "You are wrong, Captain. All of you are wrong. Hydra was founded by a more ancient group of people who worshipped an Inhuman named Hive. When Kree made Inhumans they ended up making an Inhuman named Hive. And as the stories of oppressors and oppressed go, Hive didn't like being under the control of Kree and thus rebelled. For this Hive was banished to an unknown planet. The group of people who rebelled against the Kree named themselves Hydra, which later was taken over by Red Skull. That is the origin of Hydra and its true birth," John said. Everybody's eyes went wide when John said that. Nobody knew this story of Hydra and all assumed Hydra was a part of the Nazi army. This was a whole new concept which was related to a different group of people. "So why are we bringing this up?" Geralt asked. "Because Hive is still alive on that unknown planet," John replied. "It has been thousands of years since they experimented and you are saying that this Inhuman is still alive. What is he? And immortal?" Queen asked. "No. He feeds off humans and can control all Inhumans like a hive mind. This is the reason why he was named Hive. Malik and his cult used to send humans to feed Hive through this weird portal that we have here in the glass boxes," John said. "This rock is a portal." Fury was surprised to know this. They all had been thinking what these rocks actually were, but now this question was solved. "Yes. When the rock becomes a liquid, it temporarily becomes a portal. On the other side is the Hive where he is waiting to come back and take over everything," John said. "So you want us to go and kill him?" Wayne asked. "He isn't that big of a deal, can be killed easily. Just don't send an Inhuman like Sky here on that mission. It will take less than a second to take control over an Inhuman. All Inhumans are vulnerable to him, except for one," John said. "Do we have so many Inhumans on Earth that we even have the counterpart of this Hive?" Tony asked. "Actually, no. That person who I am referring to is still a normal person. Most of the people haven't transformed as of yet and are just normal. Though there is a race of them, hidden from people, but their numbers are very low. Oh yes, the inhuman who is not vulnerable to the control of Hive is May's ex-husband. John said. Ha! What the hell? Fury said. Andrew is an inhuman and his genes once activated will make him a powerful one. An inhuman made to hunt inhumans. John said. Everybody was taken aback by this new revelation as it took a very weird turn. May's ex-husband turned out to be an inhuman even though he hasn't been activated yet. We need to bring him in and make sure he is never activated by this Terrigen mist or whatever. Fury said. That is up to you. May can make the decision. It's her life. So who are going to take this mission of killing Hive, because we all going together will be an overkill? John said with a smile. I want to try my new armor, so I should go. Tony said. I got new powers. I should give it a spin. Arthur said. I want to practice my powers. Wanda said, and thus everybody started arguing over who would go to destroy the Hive. John, when saw this, was surprised by this weird argument by the members. There will be a lottery done, and 2 people will be sent. Wayne finally stopped this weird argument that was going on. They all did a lottery with the help of Gaia, and finally Wonder Woman and Iron Man were selected by the lottery. So we have the people. Now how do you activate this portal? Fury asked, as he wanted this Hive problem to be over with and return back. By the attitude of John he could infer that this Hive wasn't that big of a deal, so he wanted to get this over with soon. Sky here can make the portal stable with her vibrations, or we can make a device that can make vibrations that can keep the portal open. Or Victor here can just analyze the portal and open a boom tube. Or I can just search for Hive and send the 2 of you there. So we have 3 different ways. John said. Everybody smiled when John said that, as they really were very relaxed about this upcoming mission. While Coulson's team was still recovering from new information that John just bombarded them with. May's ex-husband. Sky being a half-alien. A race of people which existed with superhuman capabilities. Is Andrew really an inhuman? May asked, as she still couldn't believe it. Sadly, yes. I have known this for some time. I am sorry I have never told you of this. John said. Have you known of inhumans, Sky, Hive all along? Coulson asked. I came to know this not too long ago. Now as my powers are growing I can dream of different scenarios and future, and can even choose which path to take and see. Out of curiosity I went through S.H.I.E.L.D. history and Hydra. That's where I got to know about Sky and others. John lied as he needed to. We understand. Your interfering might change many things and you don't want things to spiral out of control. Coulson said. John nodded at it, as this was the plan from before. But after Ultron he didn't want to take any risks. While they were talking, the members of the Avengers decided to use the boom tube. Tony didn't want to use the power of John and wanted to finish this mission by themselves. Diana was super powerful now, and Tony too had upgraded his armor. After Victor and Gaia analyzed the portal, they finally could pinpoint the location of the unknown planet. I have installed a long-range tracker and emergency button. If anything feels off, call us. We will come to rescue you. Victor said. If we need help even after both of us, then we aren't fit to even fight the Black Winter. Tony said. John, who listened to this, understood that the whole team was on edge and everybody wanted to get powerful fast. Hive was a small obstacle for them, but they wanted to prove themselves and make themselves ready for the future battle. Victor nodded to it and opened a boom tube. Tony and Diana went in. Diana took both of her weapons. Her new spear and lasso. While Tony used his nano armor to equip himself, which was fueled by extremis. After they went in, Victor closed the boom tube as John had said that there was a chance Hive might come in. They didn't want Hive to come to Earth and wreak havoc. An unnamed and uninhabited planet was good enough. Diana was provided a Kryptonian breathing suit too if there was a problem with oxygen in the air. Tony's armor was enough for him to breathe. Everybody now waited eagerly for Tony to send a signal that they were successful in killing this inhuman Hive. They all talked among themselves while they waited for Tony and Diana. They were particularly interested in Aang and Katara, as Aang was the legendary avatar. "John, where are the other Inhumans?" Fury asked as he wanted to know about their location. Any powered being was a person of interest for S.H.I.E.L.D. "There is a place called Afterlife in the Andes. That is where the Inhumans live, secluded. One Inhuman among them named Gordon can teleport. That's how they maintained contact with human society. Sky's mother Jing was experimented upon by Whitehall. Her mother is kind of an immortal who can take away life force from people to fuel her youth. She is the main leader of the group." "Ha! My mother." Sky was astonished as she got another revelation. This day was turning out to be a day of revelation. "Yes. Your mother. She was tortured brutally during the World War II when Whitehall did experiments on her. Your mother has gone through a lot of trauma and has become a little twisted. I am not sure if her mental health is even good now. You can find it out yourself," John said. "Can we get the location? I will handle the case of Inhumans myself," Coulson said. Fury wanted to handle the case of Inhumans but thought otherwise now. Coulson was the future director of S.H.I.E.L.D., so it was better to have this experience. "Sure. After they come back you all can go. Aang is enough for their whole team, so you don't have to worry too much," John said. Sky was more interested about her mother and asked John, and he replied to her questions calmly and even spoke of her father, who was a human and a doctor. As John was talking of her mother, Tony sent the signal that the mission was successful. Victor opened the boom tube only to see Diana and Tony emerging with blood spots all over them. "Was Hive that difficult?" Queen asked. "No, but that Bast **D turned himself into a weird tentacled monster. Took us some time to find him. He tried to take over our body only to be thrown away by Diana. It was an easy fight though. Diana just removed her tentacles and then I just blew him up. How can that be even human at the beginning? He was the leader of Inhumans. Do you think that he would be normal?" John said. After making a report of what had happened, Fury returned back and so did the others. Vesemir, with the help of Banner, was finally able to make a new potion that could make some witches. Though there were side effects like when somebody takes the Witcher potion, like they would never be able to be a father, it was more humane and there would be no deaths involved in the process. Geralt and other witches went to Earth to find orphans who could take up the mantle for the next generation of witches. Vesemir was happy with this and even implemented the dragon corpse into the potion, making witches more powerful, and even gave Geralt and others longer lifespan. Banner, who conducted experiments on the dragon corpse, was surprised to see such effects on the human body due to it. Sky meanwhile left with Coulson to find out more about her mother and father, as John had given the location of them. John asked Aang and others to keep an eye on her and deal with Inhumans when necessary. Finally it was time for another movie, and as usual everybody showed up for the movie. The movie started with the members of the Justice League fighting some villains like Lex Luthor, Weather Wizard and others. Most of the audience now know them from the Justice League Unlimited series that Disney has been bringing out. But among the members of the Justice League there was another member, Robin aka Damian Wayne. He was there for crowd control and keeping others safe, but he looked unhappy about it. The fight went on, but the whole fight was kind of funny as the villains were not that powerful and the Justice League members were actually having an easy time defeating them. But the story took a turn after every villain was captured and a weird four-eyed demon possessed the Weather Wizard. The wizard became so powerful after the possession he gave a hard time to the members of the Justice League. Superman got beaten up a little and even Wonder Woman was thrown away easily. At the end Robin used the Batwing, which was laden with missiles and bombs, to hit the Weather Wizard. This created a huge explosion and expelled the demon out of the wizard after Wonder Woman used the lasso of truth on him. Batman was angry at how Robin had intervened and made them lose evidence. Batman had enough with Robin and thus sent him to a team which was made of young children who got unimaginable powers from the beginning. Yes, the movie was Justice vs. Teen Titans. The animated movie which John just made a live action on. The movie had Nightwing, Robin, Starfire, Raven, Blue Beetle and Beast Boy. As usual, Damian, who was brought up in League of Assassins, didn't like being treated as a child and had complications with the team. Meanwhile, Clark got possessed by the same demon that possessed the wizard and the Justice League had a run against him. But later Clark escaped in order to fulfill his mission. Having Superman is a double-edged sword. Isn't he? Steve asked. He is. He is both the savior and destroyer. Every weapon. Us. We are all double-edged swords. That is why Batman here has contingencies against every one of the Avengers. Isn't it right, Wayne? John asked. Wayne just gave a slight nod to it. Wait, you mean to say Bruce here has plans to take us down if any of us goes rogue? Vision asked. Yes. Wayne replied. That is arrogant. Even for you. What if you go rogue, Bruce? Tony replied. We have a plan. It's the Avengers. John replied. You are pure paranoia, Wayne. More than me. Fury inserted himself in the conversation. Wayne just shrugged at it. The movie continued as the people finally got to know why the demons were possessing people and who were they searching for. It was Raven. One of the Teen Titans. In one outing where all the Teen Titans went out, she was confronted by the demons and finally the people got to know the main villain of the story. Trigon, Raven's father. He wanted to take over Earth and needed Raven's help in his conquest. Raven refused to help his father as she was good now. That is where Raven's history was revealed. She was a child of Trigon and a human being. Her mother and Raven were later taken to Azarath, a dimensional space where only the people who knew good magic lived, where she tried meeting his father but her summoning destroyed Azarath. Raven had to follow Trigon to his universe but she now detested him. Later she was able to seal away Trigon and leave that universe to come to Earth, joined the Teen Titans. Now Trigon had come out of the imprisonment to take over Earth. What is this Trigon? I mean, what is his origin? Triss asked as she was interested in him. Being a demon and them dealing with demons always piqued her curiosity. Trigon was originally the ruler of an unknown alien planet. Eventually, 3 powerful aliens known as the Divine came to his planet in an effort to cleanse his soul of evil. The Divine summoned the Great Heart of Darkness to feast on his soul. However, Trigon was able to absorb the power of the Heart of Darkness, which contained the collected evils of 100 galaxies, becoming a supreme power that would destroy countless worlds. John said. Everybody became solemn when John said that. They didn't expect such was the history of this demon named Trigon. The movie continued as it showed the members of the Justice League becoming possessed by the demons. And then coming after Teen Titans, Raven agreed to go with them at the exchange of Justice League, leaving her friends alive. Batman and Cyborg were able to let themselves out of control from the demons. But Flash, Wonder Woman and Superman were still being possessed by demons. They took Raven so that she could complete the ritual and bring Trigon to Earth. Later the Teen Titans decided to confront and stop Raven. And thus starts the fight. Robin was able to free Superman using kryptonite. And later Superman was able to easily free Flash and Wonder Woman, but by that time Trigon was already here. For the first time they saw the horrors of Trigon. He was huge, and had 4 red eyes in his face, huge horns and a red skin. The Justice League, who were sober now, couldn't even scratch him. Raven and others went to the dimension where he was imprisoned before. Raven wanted to imprison him again using the same red crystal that she used last time. The Teen Titans faced enemies along the journey and finally could imprison Trigon again. This time the red crystal stayed with Raven, which was now on her forehead. Thus the movie ended. But everybody were little scared by the power of Trigon. Natasha couldn't help but ask, "Are all of them coming?" "Yes. We will establish the Teen Titans team on Earth," John said. "Isn't Trigon dangerous? What if he escapes the prison again?" Fury asked. "Do you think I have control over who comes and who doesn't? They are on their way whether you like it or not. And I will deal with Trigon myself. Didn't we want a god? Now we will have a pseudo god," John said. "But will it be safe?" Tony asked. "It will be fine. As I said, I will handle him myself." Though Tony and others were skeptical, they had no other way but to accept it. They didn't have control over who comes and who doesn't. Strange's case was unique as he forcefully came, but the others were just sent over by an unknown force. At least that was what John said to others, and of course that was a lie. All went back to Ring after the movie and all they had to do was wait. Umbrella now started remodeling the Stark Tower, in the shape of a T. When the audience got to see that the Stark Tower was being broken down and being remodeled, they were surprised. But when people got to know it was being made into the shape of T, all understood that the new team of Teen Titans would be emerging. Now all had watched the movie and knew that Raven too belonged to the team. Though some were scared that Trigon was going to arrive too, but then were reminded that their Earth was now more powerful with Pokémons and Avengers. Having new members of a superhero was a boon in itself too, as by now the people loved superheroes. So the people who got scared at first were relieved, remembering the power they possess. After a week of the release of the movie, all the Avengers gathered as today was the day the Teen Titans would arrive with their full team. Even Batman's son was going to come among them, so they were more interested in seeing the father-son dynamics. Ding! Total cost of bringing the Teen Titans, the comic versions, $5 billion. Trigon itself is almost close to $4 billion, even though he isn't the comic version. That's what happens when you try to bring a pseudo-god. I wonder how much a real god would cost. Maybe more than 20 to 30 billions, I suppose. I will have to choose my battles wisely. The next years would be very crucial, John thought. John wore his helmet as he used false magic again to summon all of the Teen Titans from various places of Earth to the ring. Last time Victor brought the professors, so now he could bring without making any suspicion of him being the main man behind the summoning. As John waved his hand, all the members of the Teen Titans appeared. The whole team of Teen Titans got teleported forward/summoned in front of John. Damian was leading the team with Nightwing and the others. They all looked at each other and finally Damian broke the silence by saying, "Father." "Damian," Wayne said. They looked at each other and didn't utter any other word. "Bruce, I promise my kid will never be like you." "Never," Tony complained after seeing the father-son duo talk. "Guys, introduce each other. We are the Avengers." "We shouldn't be so brash," Victor said. Many of them knew about each other while others didn't. Triss and Yen were particularly interested in Raven and Trigon that was captured. They started asking questions after the introduction, while others asked about the other members of the Teen Titans, like the history of Starfire. Starfire's actual name was Karian Dar, hailing from planet Tamaran. She was supposed to be the queen of the planet, but she was captured by one group of sadist scientists called Shans who did experiments on her. The Tamaranian physiology allowed her to absorb sunlight from skin, and after the experimentation she was able to absorb ultraviolet rays and use it as star bolts and fly. "We have an alien now too." "That's cool," Clint said. All of them laughed and talked. Since John had already shared the memories, it was easy for them to get along. "John, you said you will handle Trigon. Do you want to do it now?" Vision asked. "If I handle it here, the ring will be destroyed. Let's go to an unknown planet. We will take the FOA too," John said. "FOA? Why though?" Banner asked. "Because the Teen Titans have a mission in space," John said. "Huh? What? Mission in space? Aren't we more capable of handling a mission in space?" Tony asked. "Nah. It's fine. We have a pseudo-god and we will use Trigon to fight another pseudo-god. I will explain to all of you later. Come with me." John and others vanished again, and now they were on Mars. And appeared on the other side where there were the Kryptonian spaceships. As they appeared they saw FOA being transformed and sitting there having fun with the machine animals. "Having fun?" John asked. "Oh hi. Yeah, it's kind of fun being here and the animals are very well mannered," FOA said. Many of them were in awe after seeing such a huge robot that could speak. Triss and others had never come to Mars before and this was the first time. "All right, we need a ride. Let's go. Take us to a barren planet," John said. Many were excited as it would be their first interstellar journey. Even though they lived in the ring, they never went beyond the solar system. Now they have the chance. FOA transformed itself back to a huge spaceship. Soon everybody went in. Most of them have never come to see the FOA, even though the Avengers were exclusively informed about the spaceships. They all toured around the spaceship while FOA started flying up. They all started asking questions to Tony about the spaceship as he had operated on them. "FOA, take us to a barren planet where nobody lives, but choose in such a way that we don't have problems after landing." "Understood." They all took their seats and FOA went into Phantom Drive. Even though they all could teleport using boom tubes, he let the members of the Avengers experience interstellar travel. He wanted both the group of Avengers and Teen Titans to have connections and a sense of belonging. After an hour of travel they finally landed on an unknown barren planet where there was nobody, and luckily the atmosphere was close to Earth's. But before going out, John needed to contact someone. "FOA, connect me to Rocket," John said. After a minute or so the video call got connected and on the screen was a raccoon. "Yo. It's been a long time, man. What's up? Whoa, so many people." "Hey Victor, Barry," Rocket said. "We have a talking raccoon?" Clint asked. "We have a talking animal. Now I can die in peace knowing that I have seen everything," Rhodes said. "Who are you calling a raccoon? Let me come and put some sense into you," Rocket replied in an angry tone. "Rocket, come to my location. We need to talk," John said, stopping the argument to heat up between them. "Your location? Why? Is it about the Black Winter?" Rocket asked. "Groot told you about this?" John asked as he was surprised they knew of Black Winter. "He came back from the meeting and gave us the new information. It's scary," Rocket said in a grave tone. "We will handle the Black Winter. Just come to our location," John said. "All right, you are a little far. Will take some time," Rocket replied. John then ended the call. "You friend?" Wayne asked. "Yeah, when I was in Xander I made some friends. He is one of them. Let's go outside and handle Trigon," John said as he went out followed by everyone. They were going to see a pseudo-god, at least that's what John meant when he explained the origins of Trigon. Most of them had apprehension about this entity but they knew that he needed to be handled. All stepped back a little while Triss, Yen and John stood side by side. John had asked them to help him control Trigon and make him be under his control. Of course this was a false play to confuse everyone. Triss, Yen, Trigon and John would all act in this whole drama to make everybody believe that Trigon was under their hands. Yen and Triss conjured magic and made a whole circular space surrounded by magical elements. John took the red crystal from Raven and flicked it inside the sphere made by Triss and Yen. John then started uttering spells that had no meaning whatsoever. Everybody's face was tense as they thought it was the real deal and just hoped that nothing goes wrong in the whole process. John went on uttering spells after spells while all watched. After about half an hour John stopped. Triss and Yen removed the magical barrier that they had put up. John showed a face of exhaustion after he removed the helmet. Banner went and took him on his shoulders so that John didn't fall. "Was it successful?" Raven asked as that was the concern for all. "Yes. Your father will now listen to commands of none others but ours," John said while giving a thumbs up. "We need to take you to rest," Tony said with concern. "It's fine. I will be all right after some rest," John said. "Now let's summon Trigon and talk to him." "Are you sure about that?" Steve asked as they were still skeptical about the whole control thing. "It will be fine, Captain," John assured as he brought the red crystal in his palm and did a small false magic again. The next second Trigon appeared in front of them. He looked bigger than what they saw in the movie. He had 4 glowing orange eyes and had red skin with spiky horns on his head. All were in defense mode as they still thought Trigon might attack and was not under their control. But then Trigon got to his knees and said, "Any commands, my king?" Everybody was dumbfounded by this act of his. They never expected the lords of many worlds to bend the knee in front of John. "Be in the crystal and help Raven whenever she needs. She is your daughter. It's time you treat her as such," John said. "Understood, my king," Trigon said. John then summoned him back to the crystal and threw it to Raven. All looked at John with wide eyes, Even Vision had a weird look on his face when he looked at John. What? Have you become so powerful that you can bring a pseudo-god under you? Natasha asked. No. The crystal helped me a lot in controlling him. I am the Lord of Order, so I have some perks under my belt. Don't think it's that easy. He wasn't in his full power, John said, in order to try breaking their dreams of him being powerful. The coming of Black Winter had stressed many people, but some finally saw hope in John. As they were talking and congratulating Raven as she was finally able to drive away the nightmare that she had been suffering, they heard a sound from above, only to see a falcon-shaped spaceship coming down. It was the Milano. But this Milano looked a little different than the actual version. LexCorp had already started making spaceships and Milano was remodeled. It had now Phantom Drive installed in it. Is that the Raccoon's ship? Hal asked. Yes. The Milano landed nearby and out came the famous Guardians of the Galaxy. Gamera, Drax, Groot, Quill and Rocket. Hey man. How have you been? Your team looks bigger than I thought. You have children too. Rocket said. Yes. And you will be babysitting the children for the time being. Hello all, how has the space been? John replied. It is good and profitable. Having a Green Lantern around is surely a good thing. Quill said. Wait. What do you mean babysitting the children? Rocket asked again. This group of children will be handed over to you for a mission. John replied. Rocket. Mission. I will take the children as long as you pay us well. Rocket said, as he didn't care about the children. All he cared about was the money. Sure, you can go to Xander and ask Lex for the money. I will inform him. John said. Did you just say Lex? Wayne asked. John had Lex under his thumb when he was in Xander. He made Lex build a company in Xander that sells spaceships built on the Phantom Drive system. John is not only a billionaire on Earth but also billionaire on Galaxy status. Victor said. And you never told us about it. What a way of showing friendship, John. And you too, Victor and Barry. Tony said with mock anger. What did you want me to say? A sadistic man who has stripped free will from a living person that always does my bidding. John said. You just brought Trigon to his knees. Do you think telling us about Lex would have affected anything? Clint said. Well, now you know. Lex is under my control. He is in Xander to handle the spaceship industry. I never mentioned it because this wasn't something to be proud of. John said. But I had no other choice. He knows about handling a company, is intelligent and came the same time Barry and Victor showed up, so I thought of using him. By that time I was already starting to get used to magic and its properties. So I tried controlling him and was successful. John lied. It's fine, we understand. Wayne said. People, can we talk about the mission? Quill said, interrupting their conversation. Quill, what do you remember of your father? John asked, changing the topic totally. My father. I have never seen him. Why do you ask? Quill asked, being confused as he didn't understand why his father came to the topic when they were talking about the mission. Because Star-Lord, this mission is related to your father. John replied. What? Why is a mission related to my father? Quill asked. Your father is a living planet, Quill. John said. Huh. Everybody had question mark on top of their heads because nobody understood what John meant by those words. Can you explain? Gamera asked. There is nothing to explain. Quill's father is a living planet who sends his avatar to all of the universe to impregnate women of all species, in order to give birth to a life form who could help him in taking over all life forms of the universe. That's how Quill was born. Him enchanting your mother and later giving your mother a tumor which killed her. Yondu was sent to bring him to you. He did so for all other children except you. John said. Do you remember when I threatened Yondu with Ego? Ego is the name of your father. A literal living planet. John said. This is absurd and impossible. My mother died naturally in hospital. Quill denied. I know you won't believe me, so you can go and ask Yondu. Your father will come looking for you soon and then the whole process of taking over the world will start. You can only kill him after you can kill his brain, which is buried deep inside the planet. I am giving you these teenagers to take care of, not because I want you to keep an eye on them but because these children can help you kill your father. John said. You controlled Trigon in order to kill Ego, didn't you? That was your plan from the beginning. Bucky asked as he got the inspiration. Yes. But that was only a part of it. Trigon will be our major weapon in many battles. John replied with a smile. Are you sure my father is what you described? If he was a living planet then I should have some other physiology. I am a 100% human. Quill said, still not accepting the fact. Are you sure about that? FOA has a med pod. You can go and test yourself. And then tell me if you are 100% human. John said. This guy here is human. Doesn't smell like a human. Yen said. He is. Half human. Born in Missouri. John said. You know of my birthplace too? Quill asked, shaken now. Even though he knew John had extraordinary powers from the last encounter, he knowing his birthplace was a whole new different thing. Didn't you get a glimpse of my power? It's fine even if you don't believe me. Take them away. And when your father comes, you can check on the story yourself. After the mission of your father, you can go to Xander to collect money from Lex. John said. I am sorry Bruce, I blamed you. Here Mr. Quill has a more weird father-son relationship than you and Damien. Tony said to Wayne as he listened to the story of Quill. Nobody paid heed to it as now they have an enemy which was a living planet. Even if the Guardians of the Galaxy didn't believe me totally, the Avengers definitely trusted John more. Shouldn't we go and handle this Ego? Steve asked as this problem was something that the whole universe might get affected. No, the Teen Titans are enough. They will complete the job. What do you all think? John asked the teenagers. We can handle it perfectly. Damien said. If you say so. If anything goes wrong, you all need to contact us. Wayne said as he didn't try to stop the Teen Titans. They have fought together before and even against Darkseid, so it would not be their first rodeo. Yes. I take the responsibility of the whole team. Nightwing said. So are you going to take the mission? I will even send FOA with you on this mission. John said. We are taking this mission. Rocket said without even thinking twice. Even though they were very much skeptical of what John said, Rocket trusted him totally as John had proven himself long ago, so he took the mission seriously. Before they left, John invited them for a feast so that all the members of Avengers, Teen Titans and the Guardians of the Galaxy could have proper conversations and connections with each other. This was where everybody got to know that Gamera was the adopted daughter of Mad Titan, which John had mentioned long ago. Tony and others got interested and asked her about her father, and then they shuddered when she told the whole story of Thanos, him being obsessed with killing half the population of the universe using the Infinity Stone. You knew about him long ago, didn't you? Even during the New York War? Banner asked. Yes. I knew. But I let it happen because we weren't powerful enough then to change the machinations of him, but now we are. He will come for us and we will beat him so hard that he would never even dare to set foot or think of that plan. John said. We can go now and just kill him. Tony said. John shook his head as Thanos would give him more fan values and he wasn't sure how he was related to the Eternals. Only after he was clear he would make his move against him. No. We will move against him when the time is right. John said. Are you afraid of him? Wayne asked. Afraid? No. I want to delve deep into his history, which I don't have access to now. His history isn't so simple. John said. All right, after you use your dreamy powers on him, we blast him away. Man, today was a rough day for being a father. Tony said. Tony, when are you getting married? John suddenly asked, as it was this year he was supposed to get married with Pepper. You are too young to even ask me this question, kid. Tony said. You should propose to Pepper before it's too late. John insisted. You are the last person to say that. Tony grumbled. So how are you all going to defeat this Black Winter if you all even thinking of confronting it? Rocket inserted himself in the conversation and directly changing the topic. We will handle it in due time. John replied. Glad that you are taking up arms against it. Quill said as he too heard about the Black Winter from Groot, and this scared him. Even though the Lantern Corps were actively deployed to defend against it, the whole thing of devouring the universe was too scary. They talked more about the Black Winter and its whole history behind it. They were surprised to know that there were so many things behind the whole problem of Black Winter. So where will you be going next? John asked in order to elevate the mood which the topic of Black Winter caused. The whole team would still go silent when the topic Black Winter came up and had looks of fear in their eyes. We got a mission from the sovereign race, on completion of which Nebula would be handed over to us. Rocket said. Sovereign race. Adam Warlock. John mumbled. What did you say? Rocket asked after John mumbled silently. Nothing. That's a good mission. You can take the Teen Titans in this. Oh yes. Don't steal their batteries no matter what, otherwise they will hunt you down. John reminded. As in original story, they stole the batteries, which caused a whole new chase. Batteries. Why will we steal batteries? Rocket asked. You will do anything to get profit. John retorted back. Rocket shrugged at it. After finishing the meal, the Guardians of the Galaxy left with FOA with the Teen Titans. Rocket was pumped up after getting the whole ship of FOA, which was huge and was even alive. He couldn't wait to pilot this ship. Everybody bid them goodbyes and Victor opened the boom tube for all of them to return back to the ring, but as they were getting ready to step inside the portal, a huge blue bird appeared on the sky. Ha! Before anybody could react, the bird turned into light and directly entered the body of Natasha. Tony and others who had no idea what just happened switched on their gears and were in defensive mode. Only Hal and John didn't have any reaction, instead had a smile on their faces. Natasha levitated in air for a few seconds, before falling down on her knees. And then she stood up, but now her eyes looked blue in color. How was the power up, Natasha? John asked. Like I can have a whole round of fight against you all. Natasha said. What is going on? Tony asked. She became the host of Adra, the embodiment of Blue Lantern. From now we have a new Blue Lantern in our team. John said. That's it guys. Hope you like the video. Like, share and subscribe the channel, and also make sure you tell me your recommendation in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching.